Thanks a lot for giving me this opportunity to maybe from the cooperation perspective try to wrap up some of the findings of the day. It's been a long day, but very fruitful day. I think the information we have received today is very rich. It's very diverse also, and it comes from all the points and corners, from those who are engaged in miniaturized manufacture of transistors and some very micro, nano electronics that are used in space technology, to we've seen ground stations and all kinds of applications. We've also have a number of deliberations from institutions that have not necessarily direct involvement in technology development, but rather to do policy formulations. We've heard from the European Union, from ourselves at the African Union, and there are a number of institutions that formulate policies and help to provide a conducive environment for the sharing of the technologies. From our perspective, the conference definitely is not addressing technology as we see many of the experts here today, coming from universities, institutes, companies directly providing service and developing technologies, but rather more of looking of ways of how to build partnership and cooperation. And such partnership and cooperation would help different stakeholders to come together for the benefit of humanity. And that is what we are here for. We know that this is a very high level technology and knowledge-based sector. It's a sector that I might say, unfortunately, where you wouldn't find information generously available. It's not a sector that you can buy everything off shelf. It does need and engage into a very high political level engagement in order to master or grasp the whole knowledge and technology behind it needed. It's also one of the very few, if not the only sector, where there are very few countries on earth that own the full technology from A to Z. Maybe you can count them on one hand, fingers, or even less than half of the fingers on one hand. And it is only by mutual cooperation that some of the groupings, I would say consortiums, manage to strike that niche, and maybe not yet fully. But knowing how much do we get out of the space technology for the benefit of humanity, for the development, addressing poverty. I mean, we listened to our colleague from Nigeria, where they took up the political side of it to attract the attention of the politicians. You might be lucky in living in an environment where the politicians might have come from one way or another, a background that they have met during their careers, the benefit of space technology. And so they are aware and they will provide you with the support. The story is different in Africa. If we look at the age of the current political leadership in Africa, it's very short. The majority have come from jungles after fighting for liberation for many decades. And so they're leading without having necessarily known what this aspect of life can bring to the development aspect. And so the space technology is always seen, in most of the cases, as a luxury thing. Once you address the politicians and you start asking for resources, they will tell you, well, we need to feed people. We need to treat people who are sick. We're not yet have resources available to go up to space. But they start building awareness of knowing that going up to space does help in sustainable development. We talk of feeding generations today, but also making sure that the generations of tomorrow will find something to eat. Without satellite today, you cannot manage properly the natural resources. So I think the exchange of informations, what inspires us, at least me and Dr. Mahama, my colleague here, also our colleague from the South African Space Agency, coming from Africa, the intention of cooperation, the willingness, and the the openness from the different stakeholders that have shared all the information with us today into coming forward. Just at the coffee break, I had an informal exchange with Maya on possibilities of looking at such a conference too in Africa. And it's just struck my mind that if we really want to get stakeholders closer, I mean, being here in Latvia, maybe we tried to work with the cluster here in Latvia together with STSG in disseminating the information to the African colleagues to come. But you've seen the responses. We've got two who were trying to come online. One managed, the other didn't manage, which tells you how much satellite technology is available there, about the connections. But also, we managed to make the time and effort from the African Union side, our colleague from South Africa also. But that's not enough if we want to establish collaboration and real partnership. So having the conference be held at the AU site and quite possibly the AU headquarters will also bring in more African partners and stakeholders. And I'm sure with the willingness and generous offers we've heard all day today, we expect something like that will be very fruitful for the near future. So that's a welcome for hosting the conference next time on our side. We also hope that we can form more of or expand some of your lobby groups, be it the clusters, SG, merging together and form and maybe join the African Leadership Conference on Space Technology and increase that the influence of this lobby group to address leaders and politicians and the importance and the need to expedite processes and programs. I was asked to wrap up, but I thought that these are the areas that I could address in terms of the input or the ingredients that we had today coming together. It's not an easy task to bring in people from all different aspects. We heard to listen to universities, institutes where research and education is going on, and we very much believe the opportunities for cooperation are great. As I mentioned this morning, the programs that are ongoing on a Pan-African University, as well as establishing the African Space Program and Agency, the strategy, the ongoing cooperation with the European Union on GMS and Africa. There is also another initiative South Africa is leading on the GOS with the Global Earth Observation Group, where GOS Africa is being established, and South Africa has been taking the lead in supporting the process together with the African Leadership Conference on Science and Technology, and we've also provided the support. So this will give us an inspiration of having a bigger conference, getting all these stakeholders together. Another element that we've worked very closely with from AU is UNIDIR, the United Nations Disarmament Organization, for the space security. And that's a different aspect. It's about the debris, they call them unguided missiles. And they count something of the 30 to 40,000 of them floating in the air, in the space, without control, that might endanger future use of space. And they're working, and we're working with them on developing an international code of conduct, code of ethics for the use of space. So it would touch upon every single stakeholder that have an interest in that area of the universe before it becomes congested and impossible to use. I would share with you as a last remark also some concerns from the African member states. Although they do realize that they might not have collectively the capability yet to explore space effectively and intensively the way developed nations do, but they are getting very much concerned about the future of the use of space, especially the area on the African space. And some of the African member states at the working group are talking about getting engaged into supporting that international code of ethics, but also introducing some kind of legitimacy of the use of space. I think that would extend to what we've heard today about the Moon Treaty. The moon and the space is a commodity that is owned to all humanity, and it's not dedicated to one specific entity or company or an agency or a country. The African concern comes from what happened by the time we develop our own capacity and be able to go to space, but there are no slots for us to launch our satellites by then. So can we secure that space that belongs to the African continent for us, so whoever gonna use it will allow them to use it on specific conditions that we will also benefit from it. And this is a debate that's ongoing on the African side. So I think we'll see as the technology develops, there are a lot of policy questions that would come, there are a lot of regulatory questions that will also be forced and find themselves on the table for discussions and debates. And a good example is why the Moon Treaty has not been considered. You can see how the conflicts in terms of not only technology but political conflicts can also kill or push forward for a specific agenda. So I think, I hope I've done justice to the task I was given. And I thought I would throw some of these issues, hopefully for some discussions and points, or if the time allows for some further questions that we can leave with. So instead of leaving with a roadmap, we leave with no roadmap, but a maze of roads and directions that at least will hopefully inspire our creativity for better solutions in the future. So thank you very much.